Okay, now getting into our tool sets. On the left side of the, just like we looked at before, I've got the handle on the left side here to drag and open up. We've looked at the dimensioning, we've looked at the bookmarks. I'm gonna go into this first one. It kind of looks like a little tool chest or a little treasure chest. This is the tool chest bar. You can see when you guys open up yours, you'll see that there's a My Tools and then some of these other ones, sequences, punch key symbols, proofreading, comment and review. These are all ones that are preloaded on there that come with Bluebeam. Most of these, other than My Tool, you're probably not gonna wanna use. I'm working with Albert right now to give you guys access to a folder that has some FBH tool sets that actually Brian has made most of these up, Brian Perez, that are some pretty common tools that we use. For example, we got this junction tool set. If you want to put junction boxes and you got a bunch of different junctions that you want to have different colors, maybe an orange for emergency, yellow for regular, or maybe different panels have different junction colors. He's made these tool sets. All these is just the text box tool, the same one we already looked at, but he set it with a specific background color, a specific line thickness, a specific size. And when I tap it, on the drawing, it puts a junction on there that looks exactly. And then I can go and put a yellow one on. I can get a purple one, whichever colors he's got on there. So it allows you to easily go through. If I were to try to do this on my own and make all these three of these, I'd have to go into the setting, go into the text box, make a box I want, put the letter J in it, change the colors and settings, and then go in, do another one, change the settings to be different than the last one I did. Here I can easily jump between different colors of junctions. I've got that option on them.
So how can I get that saved already on my file right now?
So right now, we can take a look at it real quick, see if Albert's updated the permissions. If we go, you can do this on your iPad right now. If you go into the filing cabinet up top, if you go into shared folders up top here, do you have one, make sure that your little radio cloud button is lit up green. Do you have one that says Field Team? If you tap on Field Team, there should be one inside of there that says FB Harding Inc. Team Folder. Do you see that? And then inside of there, there's Bluebeam Toolsets. There's a folder called bluebeam.com toolsets. Those are ones that come from the company that makes Bluebeam. So they're not really going to be necessarily specialized to what we're doing. There might be some that are specialized to electrical, and those will have some symbols and stuff like that are common on electrical drawings. All the rest of the ones that say FBH in here, those ones are ones that are made by mostly by Brian for what we're working on. All you have to do is open it once, and once you open it, it puts it on your side there. You don't have to go in and open it ever again. It's going to be there forever for you, at least until the iPad gets wiped or the Bluebeam gets deleted and reinstalled. You can look through some of these. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on all of what's in these tool sets. You can look through and play with them. I'm going to talk about the My Tools and how we can add to them and some of the things we can do with that. But look at those. Look at also the bluebeam.com tool sets. I think there's one on there that I find useful when I'm making up drawings. You'll see a lot of them. There's like carpentry stuff, cleaning, but there is electrical. And if I open up the electrical one, it'll have a whole bunch of different electrical symbols on there that I can then use to add to the drawings. You can add a receptacle symbol on there, that kind of stuff. But I want to talk about My Tools. So we talked about a little bit before how to select a tool on here. Like I got my text box, put whatever we want, change the settings on it, set the settings as a default we talked about. But say you're going through and you're making a home run drawing where you've got a lot of different circuits that you're showing where they're getting pulled to from the electric room, and you want to you keep switching between colors. Maybe you've got multiple panels, maybe you got high voltage and low voltage panels, and each one you've got is a different color. So I want to have ones, text box with a yellow background for one panel. Maybe I want a text box with a blue background for another panel, and maybe even a third one with a green background for a third panel. And you want to keep switching between them. I can always go in and set as default, and then when I go to my text box tool, it's gonna automatically be that yellow background. Or then I can go to the blue one and set that as my default, and then when I go to the text box tool, it's gonna have the blue background. But if I wanna keep jumping between it, maybe I wanna make one the yellow background, the next one's a blue, and then back to the yellow, and then to the green, it kind of gets tedious to go in and keep changing the settings or even setting it as default every single time. What I can do though is now that I've got these set with the settings I want on them, if I tap it and I hold on it, just like I would go to set as default, there's one to the left of this says add to my tools. Watch over here under my tools, and I tap add to my tools, it pops up with it pops up with a tool on here. It looks like it's got the A for the text box, and it kind of shows underneath. It's a little bit big because I got my the text set to a very large size. But let me add the green one also. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Let me add the green one to my tools. It's got the green, and now if I go over here and add the yellow, it's got the yellow. So now all I have to, instead of going here and changing the settings or setting as default and going to the text box tool, all I have to do is tap here, and I'll have a text box with green, and then I can go to blue, and then back to green, and then to yellow, and I don't have to keep changing the settings. Once I set it, I can add them in there. So that way if I get a whole lot of, if you get a tool that you know you're gonna be using a lot, you can do that. Another great example of where we're doing this, like again, say this is for, maybe you're doing lighting jumpers, and you know how when we're doing a lighting jumper drawing, we color code the jumpers depending on the length of the jumper itself. Well, if you're doing that, you're gonna end up with switching between colors of your lines a lot, because a lot of reds for 15 foots, a lot of blues for 20 foots, a lot of green, you're gonna jump between those colors all the time. Instead of having to keep going back over here and keep going to my settings, and I'm on a blue line right now, and I can make my line there, and then my next one I wanna go and do as a red line, and then maybe I wanna go in and do another one as a green line, whatever it is. I can, instead of jumping between them again, just like we were talking about the text box, I can always go add to my tools, and it'll show up there. Add to my tools, it'll show up there. And then I can always grab it, and it'll already have the settings that I want on it. So that becomes very useful if you're using the same tool, but with even if it's just slightly different settings set on it over and over again. Instead of having to go through and keep changing those settings on there, you've got the option to add it in here. Now, another thing that we can do on there is say instead of just the setting for it. This is my blue line. Okay. Now say instead of just the setting, I actually want the exact shape of it. So I'm going through and I'm gonna be jumping from this receptacle out to this receptacle. I'm converting it to an arc. Now say I wanna have that exact same arc. I know I'm gonna be jumping from here to here, and I wanna have the exact same shape and everything. Not just adding it to my tools and then be able to go in and make another one that's the same, but if I actually wanna do the exact same shape as it and everything. Once I set it to my tools, if I go over here and tap and hold on it, and I hit drawing mode, it's gonna give me the exact same thing. Now when I tap on that and put it in, it's the exact same arc every single time. So, I mean, that's really useful. I use stuff like that a lot when I'm doing lighting jumpers, because especially if you have a real big open area where your lights are all pretty much the same distance apart, and you're making the exact same jump in the exact same color red between every single one of them because you're using the same size lighting jumper and everything. Instead of making the arc every time, I'll just make it once, save it to my tools as a drawing mode, and then just grab it and put it on there for each one that I need to do. That becomes very, very useful, I find. And that can be literally any of your tools that you've got on here. You can change the settings on and add them into your tool set, put them into drawing mode, all you want. You guys have any questions on the markup tools, on the settings for them, your tool sets, anything like that? Like I was saying with the tools, as you go in and add them in there, they're gonna stay on there whether I exit out of this drawing, whether I completely exit out of Bluebeam, and then go back into it, all of my tools stay there. So you might find as time goes on, you get a lot of tools in there. And maybe some of the tools you don't need. Maybe this arc tool, I used a whole lot on 1900 N Street, but then I go to my next job and I don't need it at all. You can always just go in, tap and hold, delete, we'll get rid of it. And it's just as simple as that. Any questions on any of that?
The only question I got is,
Yes.
On the beginning, you said you're doing this whole thing with the phone.
Yes.
And it's on the YouTube?
I'm going to be, I have not uploaded them yet, but I will be. I'm recording right now. I'll be uploading all of these videos onto YouTube. You might have noticed me stopping and restarting the recording from time to time, just so I don't have one like 2 hour long video. I have a bunch of shorter ones.
Yeah.
I'll be uploading them, and we'll be sending out a link to everybody so that you can easily go back and look. I know this is a lot of information, and maybe you're not using everything we talked about all the time. And a month from now, 2 months from now, you might forget about it, and then a month from then, you start marking stuff up, and you're like, how did he make that arc again? I don't remember how to do that. You'll be able to go back and look at the videos and refer to it.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. I'm just trying, we don't have YouTube on this one?
You should be able, I'll get it, show you in a minute afterwards how you can get it on there.